What if the end didn't come with fire, or flood, or war, but silence? Not the peaceful kind, the eerie kind, the kind that crawls into a city and switches off its soul. It didn't begin with explosions. It didn't begin with panic. It began with stillness. The lights were on, but no one moved. Markets stood quiet. Subways ran on time, but the riders stared blankly. Museums stood full, but lifeless. Not from death, but from forgetting. This wasn't science fiction. This was 2025, and it was happening across the world's most vibrant cities: New York, Berlin, Tokyo, Buenos Aires, all pulsing with activity on the surface, but underneath, something was slipping. And what if someone had seen it coming? A blind woman from Bulgaria decades ago. Her name was Baba Vanga. They called her a mystic, a prophet. And among her hundreds of predictions, there was one that no one talked about. Not until now. She whispered it once to a visiting scholar in the 1970s. The cities will fall asleep, not from death, but from forgetting who they are. At the time, it made no sense. Now, it feels terrifyingly real. At first, it was subtle. Artists lost their spark. Protesters stopped showing up. Innovation, once the heartbeat of cities, flatlined. In San Francisco, tech hubs stayed busy, but empty of imagination. In Paris, cafes buzzed with noise, but the conversations felt hollow. Even New York, the city that never sleeps, seemed sedated. People still moved, still worked, still scrolled, but something vital had dimmed. It wasn't fatigue, it wasn't depression, it was something deeper, of forgetting, of purpose, of presence, of soul. Psychologists called it burnout. Economists blamed inflation, politicians pointed fingers. But none of them asked the real question: what if this isn't a psychological crisis, but a spiritual one? The ancient mystics believed that true sleep isn't when the body rests, it's when the soul forgets why it came. Baba Vanga warned us, not of bombs, not of disease, but of a creeping silence. A sleep so deep, you don't even know you're asleep. And the cities, once living, breathing extensions of human creativity, have become shadows, echoes, places where time ticks, but nothing truly moves. Among the hundreds of predictions attributed to Baba Vanga, this one was nearly lost. A single sentence, whispered in the 1970s, buried deep in Bulgarian folklore archives, untranslated, undocumented, and dismissed. The cities will fall asleep, not from death, but from forgetting who they are. For decades, no one paid attention. It was too vague, too poetic, too obscure. But now, as the world drifts into this strange, collective slumber, the words feel like a warning. What did she really mean? Forget who we are? Could it be that we haven't just lost direction? We've lost memory? Think about it. We've traded community for convenience, wonder for Wi-Fi, presence for performance. Baba Vanga spoke of hollow faces in high towers, people whose eyes saw but whose hearts had shut off, of clocks that ticked, but time that no longer flowed. It wasn't about sleep. It was about disconnection, about a world so focused on doing that it forgot how to be. The mystic's vision wasn't predicting a moment, but a slow fade, a dimming of collective consciousness. And now, that prophecy echoes through our cities, through our screens, through the silence we pretend not to hear. Because deep down, something in us knows. We're not really awake. But what if this global slumber isn't just spiritual? What if it's also electromagnetic? Modern cities are blanketed in invisible noise. Wi-Fi signals, 5G towers, Bluetooth waves, a web of frequencies pulsing day and night. To our eyes, everything looks normal. But beneath the surface, our biological fields are under pressure. We are electric beings. Our hearts beat with rhythm. Our brains fire with voltage. Our bodies resonate. And when external frequencies grow stronger, they don't just interfere with machines. They can disrupt us. Some scientists now believe that this digital saturation might be interfering with our natural biofield, the subtle energy field that mystics and ancient healers have spoken of for centuries. Even Baba Vanga, who lived far from technology, once said, "You will not find spirit where the wires hum." Could she have known that future cities would become prisons of static, places where the soul cannot sing because the air itself drowns it out? What if we've surrounded ourselves with a signal so loud we can no longer hear the whispers of our own spirit? What if the real sleep isn't in our minds, but in our frequency? A world overstimulated by devices, yet undernourished in meaning. A planet wired for connection, but starved for consciousness. And while we scroll through artificial lives, the real one slips further away. But not every place has fallen asleep. Scattered across the globe are quiet outposts of awareness, small towns, hidden communities, places not on maps, but alive in spirit. These are not cities of power, but of presence. You can feel it when you arrive. The air feels clearer. The people look into your eyes, not at their screens. There is music, not from devices, but from voices, laughter, drums, wind through trees. In these places, something ancient still lives. Baba Vanga spoke of them too, not as resistance movements, but as spiritual strongholds, places where the old ways were never fully abandoned, where ancestors are still honored, where the earth is still sacred. Here, art still blossoms, children still wonder, communities still gather without needing a reason. There are no trending hashtags, but there is joy. Some say these are pockets of light in a darkening world, sanctuaries not built by architects, but by intention. And they may hold the key to remembering what the rest of us forgot. Could it be that these communities are protected by something invisible? Or maybe they just never gave it up. They never traded presence for performance. They never forgot how to listen. And in a world under a spell, perhaps it's their frequency, their quiet hum of consciousness, that will help wake the rest of us. Before her final days, Baba Vanga whispered one last vision. She said, "They will rise again, the cities, but they will no longer be made of stone and metal. They will breathe, they will dream, and the people inside them will finally remember their names." What does it mean for a city to breathe? To dream? Perhaps she wasn't talking about buildings. Perhaps she meant us, because we, not the concrete, not the screens, we are the city, its rhythm, its memory, its soul. And maybe this silence we feel isn't the end. Maybe it's a pause, a sacred pause, before the great remembering. The question now is no longer, was Baba Vanga right? The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you wake up? Will you help others remember? Because the spell is real, but so is the key to break it. Maybe it's a sound. Maybe it's a moment. Maybe it's you. So if you've felt the fog, if your city feels dull, if your soul feels distant, you are not alone. Let this video be a spark. Let it reach the places that still feel, still care, still humming. Like this video, if it stirred something inside you. Share it with someone who's still searching. Subscribe to this channel, The Interconnected Zone, because we are not done dreaming. And if you feel called, become a member. Support the awakening. Be part of the frequency that remembers. Drop a comment. Tell us where consciousness still lives. Let others know. They're not the only ones waking up. Because this isn't the end of the world. It's the beginning of a deeper world. One where we don't just exist. We awaken.